What's going on, everybody? This is Sean of Raw Select Music. Today I want to talk about this record right here. This is Illingsworth You're No Fun, released on Mellow Music Group. Comes in this very beautiful splattered gray vinyl. This was a record that I was really looking forward to. I was a big fan of Illingsworth's previous beat tape on Street Corner Music, Worth the Wait. Definitely worth checking out if you haven't grabbed this yet. But for the longest time, it didn't seem like Illingsworth was really putting out any new music because he had been focusing mostly on a lot of his Twitch streaming stuff. But when I found out that he had a new album coming out this year, I got really excited and immediately jumped on this guy. And now that I've given it a listen, I want to share my thoughts and opinions of this record with you and let you know whether or not I think it's worth checking out. So, with that little introduction out of the way, let's talk about this guy. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with who Illingsworth is, he is a Detroit-based hip-hop beatmaker slash producer slash MC slash occasional Twitch streamer. And similarly to his 2016 beat tape, Worth the Wait, Illingsworth is known for making sort of eccentric, quirky, instrumental hip-hop that, while it does bear some resemblance to some of the other beatmakers that are out there these days, he definitely does enough things differently that he has his own sort of unique voice in the world of beat making. For one thing, Illingsworth is actually a pretty solid rapper, and he shows up as an MC several times on this record. The opening track, You're No Fun, he actually shows off that he has some pretty clever wordplay. There are several rewindable lines that make me smile every time that I hear them. And it also shows up again on the track featuring Open Mike Eagle, Peeves, where they sort of go back and forth talking about the things that, as the track would suggest, sort of irritate them. And there are definitely some really, really amusing lines in there. Specifically, Open Mike Eagle's line about rappers mispronouncing words to try to make them fit within a rhyme scheme, I thought was pretty entertaining. And then Illingsworth pops up as an MC two more times on this record, D&D, which is actually one of my least favorite tracks on here, as well as the track Wind, which doesn't have as many memorable verses as the other two tracks that I previously mentioned, but is still another solid couple of verses from Illingsworth. But as solid as of an MC as Illingsworth is, the main selling point of Illingsworth is definitely his beats. And much like Worth the Wait, You're No Fun has quite a wide variety of beats on here. A lot of the beats on here are real swing heavy, really quirky. They don't really seem to have as much punch as a lot of beat makers go for. Instead, he seems to focus on beats that sort of click and thump and bump and a bunch of other adjectives that I can't really think of at this moment. And there's a lot of texture within his beats, not only with the drum choices and how he tends to favor a lot of stranger, sort of semi-experimental sounds for his drums, but also in the way that he does sample chops. Sometimes he'll use some really grainy electronic samples. Sometimes he'll just focus on using some really just straight sample chops where he takes one track and just chops things up in a way that really unique to him. Now, I do say that while the majority of the tracks don't really hit all that hard on here, there are definitely a few moments where he's really trying to hit you over the head and get you to snap your neck on some of these tracks. Most notably, one of my favorites is All Live, which is an obvious nod to some of Jay Dilla's more club-friendly, but even though you can tell that he's sort of channeling his inner Jay Dilla on it, he's still putting his own sort of spin on that sort of Jay Dilla sound. You're No Fun starts things off with a breakbeat heavily filtered track, and actually is one of the most playful tracks on here. And then throughout the record, you sort of just get a nice broad mix of purely sample-based stuff versus electronic music infused with sample-based stuff. A good example of that is the second track off here, the track Greens, which is one of my favorite. I love the way that the heavily processed vocals and the way that they feed into the melody. And there's a lot more moments like that throughout this record. And then you get some songs that are just some straight up electronic music influenced beats as well. And this record sort of jumps around in those sort of three sort of styles all the way through. There is a ton of variety. There's a ton of different sounds on here, and really no two tracks on this record sound exactly the same. I guess really the only sort of complaint that I have about this record is some of the tracks are a little less memorable than others, but overall I really don't have any complaints about this. It is a solid successor to Worth the Wait, and if you've never heard of Illingsworth and you can't find a copy of this guy, you can't go wrong with You're No Fun. And despite what the title may suggest, this record is actually a lot of fun, and it's one of the most entertaining, amusing, quirky, eccentric, and just downright amusing instrumental hip-hop releases that I've heard in a long time, and easily a highlight of 2018. So if you haven't checked this guy out yet, and if you haven't grabbed it, definitely pick this guy up. It is totally worth your time, and definitely worth your money. So that's gonna be it for me today, guys. Thanks as always for watching. If you checked this record out, let me know what you thought about it down in the comments. If you want to check this record out for yourself, as always, head over to my WordPress and Steemit blogs, because that's where I have the music links so you can check this record out. The link for my WordPress and Steemit blogs are always in the description. And definitely, as I've pleaded with you multiple times, head over to my Mixcloud and check out Ross Like Radio, because that's where I do sort of a deep dive into not only the records that I've been picking up, but as well as some of the other records that are in my collection. So you get a pretty broad scope of all the different music that I listen to. So that's gonna be it for me today. Thank you as always for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next video. So until then, peace out!